Light baking has historically been used in games to optimize performance, as calculating the lighting in a scene is tremendously processor intensive. However, this poses a problem for moving objects, as their lighting won't match into the lighting in the scene. In Unity, we'll use light probes to allow dynamic or moving objects to sample the bake lighting at certain points in the scene and match into that lighting that is apparently lighting the whole scene in the game. I'll create light probes on my environment object, selecting it and adding a component. Under Add Component in the inspector, choosing Rendering and Light Probe Group. The idea of the light probe group is we're going to take these probes, plus any we may add, and position them around the scene in areas where dynamic objects may go, so that when they're in a particular place in the scene, such as in the corner by the dresser, they sample that baked lighting and match in. I'll press F to frame in and zoom in on those light probes. We can see our light probes here in the scene. We can select these light probes and move them around, simply clicking on it, and we'll see it has its own move tool. For this, you may want to turn off your continuous baking, as that may slow down occasionally as Unity tries to keep pace with moving objects. I'll choose Window and Lighting, and uncheck Auto for now. Now we'll position these light probes in. When you're positioning light probes in the scene, it's important to get good coverage in the scene anywhere that your dynamic characters may go. I'll pull this probe over right by the fire truck that's tipped on its side and select the next probe and pull it out as well. When you're positioning light probes, make sure that they're positioned not only in one plane but in 3 dimensions. The more variation we can get on these probes, the better. We also want to make sure that our probes are not too high. Almost everything here in the scene exists at or under roughly halfway up the stool. So we don't need our probes way up on the wall. They're going to exist in a zone more or less about the height of 1 drawer here, or maybe 2 on these chest of drawers. I'll position the light probes around and add more if needed. The original light probe group starts out with 8, so I'll take these 8 probes and move them into the corners of the scene, making sure not to move the actual scene as I'm doing so. We can always press Ctrl or Command Z and undo if needed. We can see that the light probes are connected by these purple lines, and this defines where that light probe group is. I've positioned most of my light probes around, and it looks like I need a few more here in the scene. Click on Add Probe to add a probe into your light probe group. I'll take this new probe, pull it up out of the floor, and over here in the corner by the blocks. Again, making sure that these are separated not only by X and Z space, but also on the Y axis. The more your light probes are off a single plane, the better the lighting will be. Let's add in 2 or 3 more probes to really fill out the scene. We can always add more if we need once we've got the scene together and have checked out the baked lighting. The light probes are in. This looks pretty good, although we'll see once we get a character in, and we can always adjust. Now that these are in, we can turn back on our auto baking, and anything we put in here that's marked to use light probes will sample that baked lighting at those points and match into the scene. Choose Window and Lighting, and turn back on Auto, and we'll see Unity start to build again.